Good morning, everybody. Normally, first thing in the morning, we do quotes. And today's quote actually comes from a conversation that I had. In business, everybody, it's helpful to have a mentor. Obviously, a lot of us are not lucky enough to have a mentor. So I just have people that I talk their ear off about what's going on in my business woes. And one of these friends was just telling me, this quote is kind of having to do with him talking about business and the best part of owning your own business. And it goes like this. He says, the best part of having your own business, it's not the money. It's where we can help people in ways that it'll come back to you. And it really describes kind of the mission and the whole thing of what we're trying to do here, where I, I mean, of course, obviously, like it's a business, there's a goal, but the ability to help people, especially to help people in such a way that they can, create generational wealth, do something for themselves, do something for their community, um, it's going to come back, right? So I don't know, it just made me feel good about what we're doing and made me happy to continue. Anybody else have a quote for the day?
I do. Can you hear me okay?
Good morning, Cassidy.
Good
Cassidy.
morning. Hey, y'all, I have one of gratitude. Y'all know I'm in Texas, and so last week we had crazy power. And one of the things that I felt anxious about was like trying to get to the market. I was literally on my phone trying to be on Clubhouse and in the market. And so just all of that had me take a step back. So I have two short quotes today about gratitude. One, start each day with a grateful heart. And two, gratitude turn what we have into enough. And I mention that because sometimes we can get so caught up in expectations with all the luxuries that we have, whether that's power, internet, even access to the market. And last week just really helped me take a step back to remember to be grateful, y'all. That's all.
That's amazing. I got one. Go ahead though, Olivia.
Yeah, mine is challenge yourself with something you know you could never do. And what you'll find is that you can overcome anything. For a lot of you guys in the audience, even for me, when I first started, I was really scared to go in and use my money. And I did, lost a lot of money, but I made back. So if I didn't challenge myself to get active in the stock market, I probably would be holding myself back and never have actually made it to where I want to be now.
That's actually a pretty deep one, man.
Yeah, I like
Anybody
that.
else?
Yeah, I have don't let your perceptions of your circumstances limit your possibilities. Hank Moody.
I got one. Whenever you want to give up, remember why you started.
And mine's just pretty simple, and it's just to like find your tribe. Um, I think that it's important in life to have people that support you and are there for you. And if you don't have those people in your life, don't be afraid to shed, the bad people in your life, because the universe will put all the right people and, everything that you want in your life if you let it and if you're open to it. And you can do things faster if you have a team and people who support you. It takes a lot longer when you do everything by yourself.
Oh, that's the truth. Yeah, I feel that one. Well, cool. We normally do some quotes first thing in the morning just so that we give people a chance to come in here before we get to talking about futures and talking about stocks. So thank you, everybody, for coming with your quotes. I find this stuff really inspiring. Also, just like for everybody's benefit, and I guess I should have said this in our pre-production meeting, but here we are. Let's try to say our names and kind of like, I don't know, I know a lot of people actually listen while they're driving, so it can help like that. So, hey, this is Elaine, aka Stock Mom, and let's talk about some damn futures. Okay, so first thing, I actually made a post today, and I posted all of the future charts that we're going to be looking at on our Instagram, because I just think that this is a group activity and we all need to be looking at the same thing. Now, let's see here. Let's start off with the S&P 500. So looking at forward/ES, which are the futures for the S&P 500, we can see that over the past few days, we've definitely had a steep consolidation into a downtrend. right? We've been pushing down. Now, I've been talking a lot about this large megaphone shape that has been forming since mid-November, where we're having higher highs and lower lows, and just showing the volatility that's really in the market. Now, we stayed on the top half of that shape, and it's been really good living up here, knowing that we're continuing to push all-time highs and just keep a strong forward momentum. Now, after the events of last week, we slowed down a little bit. We moved sideways and then even came down. Now, over the weekend, we took an even bigger, after hours, it kind of took a bigger drop, and from this morning. And so what I have here is a look of a demand zone, sorry. And this is really just a base off support and resistance. So if you go back to mid-January, you can see that we were bouncing off the top of a resistance around 38.50. And eventually, as we moved into February, that resistance turned into a support, and we held above that. And now, from last night moving into this morning, we've definitely bounced right up against that support/demand zone. And I'm calling it a demand zone just so that it gives us a little bit more space. Now, as long as we can hold up here, I'm excited to see where we go in the upward momentum. And I could see us pushing from 38.50. I want to see 3900. However, this is a really decisive moment. Once again, I think I say this every single day, but I feel like this every single day. I look at these futures and I look at the market and I say, wow, we're at a pivotal moment in history. And here we are yet again. So if we can hold above this, I definitely love to see some upward momentum. And if we zoom in, so I'm looking on a 4-hour chart right now, and that would be kind of one of the first charts. But as we zoom in and look, we can see that we've hit what's called a double bottom, right? We've bounced literally directly off of that support line. And we're looking to continue to uptrend, but we're still in a consolidation pattern. So if we can hold over 38.80 even, I would be excited once again, and looking for the next leg up, 10 points up into 38.90, which is like the last gap that we just closed over between Friday and today. And I'd love to see that movement. However, underneath that, if we're going underneath 38.70, even below 38.61, I once again could be very bearish for the day. And underneath that that demand zone, we've got a long way down to go. And it's going to be the same thing for a lot of our charts. So the question is, are we going to have a green Monday or a red one? Because if we do have a red one, I think it's going to be really bloody. But if it's green, we have plenty of room to go. So, these are just my activation levels and things that I'm looking for. Moving over to the Nasdaq Futures, which the ticker for that is /NQ. We can see sort of a similar story with a more dramatic pullback, right? So I've done the same thing. That megaphone shape, that widening where we have higher highs and lower lows, I've drawn my lines, just my trend lines around it. And that red shaded box that you'll see is, once again, we're going to call that a demand zone. And it's based off support and resistance. However, the zone gives us a little bit more space to say, hey, I'm okay to watch what happens inside of this zone. And I'm looking to see if we can break outside of it as opposed to a singular line. And if we look, we've gone on our Nasdaq futures much deeper into that potential demand zone. Now, once again, both of these charts are looking up. There's a bounce happening, but the question is it going to hold until market open, right? Pre-market and market open are two completely different animals. We'll see the volume start to come in. We'll see buyer sentiment or seller sentiment start to come in. And I'm really, this is a fairly decisive moment once again, right? If we look underneath that, we've got a long distance to go. Now, something that does make me feel good, at least looking on /NQ on the 4-hour chart, is that green line that we're seeing is the 200 simple moving average. And if you look, the last time at the beginning of February when we hit that, we had that large pullback that came down to the bottom of our trend line. We bounced off of that 200 moving average very nicely. It happened previously at the beginning of this megaphone shape, and it looks like we're coming really close to that now. So even if we potentially come down a little bit farther, I could see us bouncing off of that 200 and having a nice recovery. But once again, it's just a decisive moment in time. And we have our activation levels to look at. So, with the Nasdaq futures, I really want to see us hold over 13,400. And if we can, 13,500 would be, that gap that we basically went down over the weekend. So I'm excited to see what happens there. And I'll hurry up because I don't want to take too much time. Crude oil. So here we are looking at /CL, which are crude oil futures. And right now we're at a good place for crude oil and a good place for just the energy sector in general, where this is where we're at. Industrials are looking up. We're going to see increased demand, and on top of that, we have a limited supply. We've agreed to not pull as much oil. Not only that, we've had a major crisis which has affected the oil supply as well, causing energy prices to spike. But without, and that just adds volatility. But without that, we were still up looking at this in terms of our sector rotation and just sectors to be into as we move into, the space race, as we move into the reopening of America. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here. Not only that, we have some of the, some decent oil stocks also having earnings this week, and like Oxy, Marathon Oil, and I'm really excited to see what they post and look at those post earnings reactions. And last but not least, we'll talk about the Russell. Oh, sweet dear Russell. So when I talk about the Russell 2000, and I say small caps, I just want you guys to have a mental picture in your head of what I mean here. Let's look at the top 5 holdings of the Russell, which are Caesar, Penn, Plug, Run, and then underneath that it kind of goes straight into healthcare. So, but when we look at these, it should give you a little bit of a better idea when I say small caps, right? When I say large caps, when I say Nasdaq, we're looking at some of the larger companies. When I say S&P 500, we're looking at like Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan. But when I say Russell, we are talking about smaller market cap companies. And very interestingly, the Russell is actually weighted, I believe 30% of it, or it's the high 20s, is in healthcare, right? So now it can sort of make sense why this has been such a resilient index compared to what's going on in the Nasdaq or what's going on in the S&P, which holds Tesla, right? Tech has just been overextended, but this is not the heavy weighted tech index. So the pullbacks and the way that we're looking is a lot better. Honestly, I might be sticking in the small caps today. So the same thing, I drew that demand zone, which was a previous resistance line that has turned into a support. Now in the Russell, we have bounced off of that support, and we're looking to see if we can hold the upper trend line or if we're going to trend underneath it. Now we could trade sideways, and we are seeing a little bit of a sideways range trade inside of, from here for the past week or two. However, if we look into the companies, we look at the momentum that's happening in the gambling sector, and even the way that this has reacted compared to the rest of the whole market pullbacks, I think that inside of the Russell are a lot of companies that we should be looking at as we're kind of worried about what's going on in the market and seeing this large level of volatility. I look for places that say, hey, we might be okay here, and I'm seeing that in the Russell. So with that said, that's my take on the futures. Anybody else seeing anything they want to talk about? All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment.
All right, y'all. Good morning. It is time for trash trades. So you know how this goes. If you guys made a mistake either last week or maybe jumped into something this morning and it wasn't the best idea, hop up on stage. Let's talk about it. I have no problem in starting. So, gosh, what did I just chase? I literally just chased it. So I chased ATIF. I definitely chased ATIF just 100 shares just because I just wanted to see they got news about buying into a SPAC, and so they're looking to jump into becoming one of the Blake check companies to acquire a company. And so I chased it at 260, and then it dropped all the way down to 200. To $2 flat. So, yeah, not the smartest play for me. We definitely talk about not chasing, but I kind of chased price action, and it had broken the previous resistance that I was looking for. Either way, especially with the way that the futures are looking, the Dow's looking, the SPY's looking, I should have just stuck to my plan that I said this morning and sat on the sidelines. And so that's not going too well for me right now.
For me, it's hey guys, my name's Olivia, by the way. For me, it's just the fact that I decided last Friday to transfer money to Fidelity, a new brokerage that I'm using, and I'm just sitting here like, wow, I can't buy a lot today. That's fun. Yay.
Yeah, I actually don't have one. It's sometimes it's hard to continuously have some negative stuff to talk about.
But that's
But
good though.
I mean,
Like,
yeah. It's supposed to be a learning moment though. So like inside of that learning moment, I will say last week I struggled a lot with FOMO. I didn't take a ton of positions, but it's like an ever-going battle against that and the feeling that I need to take positions. Like today, I'm looking at the market, I'm feeling pretty shaky to be honest, and I want to see it establish a direction. But at the same time, I have stocks that I am excited to buy. I can't wait to buy this dip. So it's kind of this ever-present just battle against taking trades and forcing them. Got to wait for that stuff to come to me. So I did all right, actually, to be honest, last week. And I guess that's my forward guidance for myself to chill out and not be so aggressive on taking positions until I know. Not necessarily a trash trade, but just my mentality going into this week for sure.
yeah, this is Chris. I definitely just want to say that it is definitely a privilege to hear this segment getting smaller and smaller each week. That means we're becoming more disciplined. So I appreciate that that this segment isn't too long.
All right. Well, with that, like if nobody else has anything, we'll do a quick refresh and we'll start talking about our sector ETFs, huh?
Presented by Welcome to the #1 pre-market show on Clubhouse, presented by Stockhouse University. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. This is a conversation among friends that love stocks and want to improve our profitability by coming here every day and talking about the market, relevant news, and how we're going to use that information to profit. We think education should be accessible and affordable to everyone, so we have a completely free Discord that has tons of resources and over 1,600 amazing members at all different skill levels that are all talking about the market and trying to grow as well. We also have free classes on Sundays. We would love it if you would join the community and contribute, because together we are so much more powerful than we are individually. Invite your friends, invite your family. Let's all create opportunities for generational wealth.
All right. With that said, let's look at some sector ETFs. So there's been this just storyline unfolding in the market. And the storyline is XLE was the largest gaining sector ETF of last week. That's interesting. That's not normal. And although it does fall into our sector rotation, let's take a look and see what we can see here. So XLE is our energy sector SPY ETF. And what are the main holdings of XLE? Well, we have Exxon, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, right? Oxy, all of our big oil plays, all of our energy plays, they're going to be in there. And I keep talking about crude oil futures every morning. And so that is obviously going to have to be reflected as well in the XLE ETF, and surely it has. Now, with this, we've bounced off of a high at 46.8, and we're right now consolidating directly underneath that. We've had a recovery, recent resistance has turned into a support. And I'm really interested into where we're going to go with this particular sector. I could see this continuing. I know how we are in terms of oil supply. I know where we are in terms of growth for the country. And I see this as continuing to potentially push and be a strong contender in terms of uptrending and giving us value, right? There are plenty of other ETFs that have been moving all the time, that have been gaining. But this one trades a little bit differently. It still continues to go up, but it's just we have a higher value. I don't see such a far floor below us. As a matter of fact, our most recent, resistance that turned into support is about $1.50 underneath us. Now, that's not a small amount of space on a chart like this. However, it's way different from when we look at something like, tech, right? And so here we have, I would love to see us continue this uptrend. I want to see what happens once we hit our all-time high again, which is a whole 70 cents above us. And in general, we have a couple of decent oil earnings this week, specifically Oxy and Marathon Patent. Marathon, yeah, it's Marathon Petroleum. There we go. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to do. I expect them to beat their earnings, and I expect strong forward guidance. I skipped SPY. Let's talk about SPY real quick. So looking at SPY, we gapped down over the weekend and opened up at 386 this morning, I believe. Oh yeah, we opened up at 386. And so right now we're currently holding over 387. But once again, this is kind of like my activation line, and this is the lowest part I have on my chart right now. Right? I mean, under 386, I know that we have a support around 383 and then 380. But this kind of starts to spell the story I was talking about with the futures, where we're at a fairly decisive moment. I would love to see us uptrend from here. There's plenty of room to go. We have plenty of support and resistance. I mean, it's a little choppy if you look to the left. However, underneath that, we've got a decent ways to fall. And I want to know what's going to happen. So for me, I'm going to have to wait to see, and I want to see some sort of trend confirmation of one way or the other. Or if we're going to consolidate and trade in the range, I'd like to see both a high and a low. Now, for me, at least confirmation starts at the minimum of like 3 5-minute candles. But for a lot of people, 3 15-minute candles is like a much deeper confirmation, or even an hour. Just to say, hey, I'm sure of the trend that we're going to go in. The first 15 minutes of the day, honestly, is usually a give me, as we see orders coming in from last Friday and just the discrepancy between Friday's closing price and Monday's opening. So I'm really going to be waiting to see something. Hey, Olivier, do you have anything to say about SPY? I know you're a SPY watcher.
Yeah, I'm excited. I play both sides. So SPY going up or down, I'm playing, and right now it's looking like it's a call buy. I'm just saying that simply because I know earlier in the market it was 386. Now I see it's 387 already, and if at open it's 388, I'm sure it's going to rebound hard and give us maybe a new high for the day. And if not, it'll just stay within its channel and just keep going sideways until it breaks past either the support for me that I place at 378 and the resistance at 395. I think it's just going to keep doing that until we see a major correction.
Yeah, I like that. At least for me, I'm definitely, I don't know, for me at 378 will already be a fairly decent sized pullback. I'm definitely concerned under 386. I could see us going right back down to 380 as my next support, 380, 381, somewhere in there. And even that would be like a significantly down day in terms of SPY movement. I mean, shit, she moves $1, $2 every day. Maybe 3 or 4 on a big day. So we have that potential in both directions today. But yeah, good take, man. I kind of agree. Overall, regardless of whether or not there's a pullback or a move in one direction or the other, it's definitely tradable, and we definitely have plenty of support. I mean, I don't think it's just gonna crash to the floor just yet. But yeah, we definitely do have some activation levels that are right around us. We're in a really tight consolidation pattern right now. Continuing down our sector ETFs list, though, let's see, what do I want to talk about next? Let's talk about XLI. So when I say XLI, this is the industrial sector ETF. And what are our major players inside of the industrial sector? Well, we have stuff like Boeing, right? We have stuff like 3M. We have stuff like Caterpillar, Honeywell, Union Pacific, right? These companies, once again, represent sort of the heartbeat of infrastructure and supply movement, supply chain in America. So when we look at XLI, and let me make sure I have the right. When we look at XLI, we're seeing a story here. So from the beginning of February, we've bounced off a significant low, and we've gapped up multiple days in a row, consolidated, and broken past all-time high. Now, we've taken a small pullback since that all-time high hit, and the question is, are we going to continue to grow, or will we see even more pullback? Now, for me personally, I've been very bullish on the trajectory of America and American productivity and our growth in business. We hear so much stuff about how people are moving towards space, how we're trying to expand on our delivery systems. And so I see XLI as having a strong representation in the foundation of what that is. And I really honestly expect us to continue uptrending. But with that said, we are at yet another kind of decisive moment where we have to break past all-time highs, and we need volume to do that. Right? We need the continued interest. So if there are other places in the market, if we have some sort of pullback, if we have one of those shaky consolidation days, I don't know that that we're going to benefit quite so well. But as soon as we start to move into, just a clearer bull market, clearer uptrend, and also honestly, like get better guidance on what's going to happen with stimulus. Get better guidance on what's going to happen with green energy credits and sort of, the federal side of what's going to happen. I see XLI as being one of the main winners in that situation. So yeah, I'm looking to go over 91.25 in our all-time high. And in terms of coming down, I mean, I could see us come all the way back down to 89 in XLI and still be completely bullish and call it a very bullish retracement. XLF, which is our financial sector ETF. And let's look at the largest holdings inside of that, which I don't have, but it's JPM, Goldman Sachs, Square, PayPal, I believe, is an XLF, right? It's looking at all of our financial sector things. And we've been on a solid uptrend. I mean, it's not nearly as shaky as so many other charts, at least since the beginning of February. And I'm really excited for financials in general. I think this is a really great sector it's shown resilience. It's shown that it's going to continue to uptrend, and we have positive things to look for, even just because, and the number one holding, I believe is Berkshire. But we have solid things to look forward to, mostly because the financial sector benefits off of two things. They're going to benefit off of volatility in the stock market because there are banks that are using the money to invest. And they're constantly, they have some of the best algorithms, the best traders. And then on top of that, this exposure and hype based off of crypto and crypto adoption. And although not every single player has, some sort of play that has to do with crypto, when we continuously hear these things, MasterCard's accepting Bitcoin, PayPal is, these are giving these vehicles a huge boost. And so the sector is going to benefit from that. Last but not least, we can talk about tech real quick. So looking at XLK. XLK is the ticker for our tech sector ETF. And if we look at that, we've been trading in this ascending channel. And right now we're kind of close to the bottom of the channel. That spike on Friday actually took us right down. And this is a beautiful thing. Once again, if you use a moving average, I feel like a 200 simple moving average is just one of the greatest things to kind of use as your bottom level of support. And sure enough, whenever we touch that 200 moving average, there might be a little bit of a sink below and we're popping up, which gives me overall bullish sentiment. However, we are at the bottom of the channel, and I'm looking to see if we're going to continue to uptrend. Bounce off of this and continue to uptrend, or we do have a couple of points before we actually touch our 200 SMA. So I don't see it going too much farther down, and we have plenty of upside and plenty of place to go, and we know tech loves to run. So we could be set up in a really decent setup for a nice tech run. But the question is, are we at the bottom yet? Or are we going to continue to bounce? And how do we know that? Well, we're going to wait for confirmation of one way or another. Whatever it is that gives you the confidence to know that you're not trying to catch a falling knife. Because right now we do have a little bit of a falling knife situation, right? A very red day, a complete gap down into today. I don't know what's going to happen when the market opens. It's okay. We don't have to predict. And I don't want to take up too much more time because we want to talk about stocks. But that is my take on some of the sector ETFs and what that means for us in the market today.
Great job. Great job.
I congratulate myself. Thanks, Fly. All right. with that said, I think we should talk about the news real quick and see if anybody has any important news that we want to talk about, and then we'll go right into our watch list. Does anybody have any big news topics you guys are thinking about right now?
Yeah, I got one for a company that I was just watching. It's called, sorry. It's basically cancer research news for the stock CANF, CANF. It's liver cancer phase 2 clinical trials. They're using nano-dimension technology. So I was thinking, hey, nano-dimension, we know 3D printing is right around the corner. The stock is like, it's $3 right now. I'm just curious. I'm looking at it to see it in market open if it's going to pop up, because cancer news plus like nano news, it's just got to be good. So I'm just watching that.
Yeah, I got a
fully
couple.
agree. Real quick, just also the print ETF, like we definitely kind of look like we might have found a bottom. So you might be really, really right on that, man. It might be a good time to grab some positions when they're at their lowest. Thanks for that one, Olivier. Sorry, Christopher, go ahead.
Very good. Thanks, Olivier. So I'm looking at Penn National Gaming. They got a couple of positive PRs today. So they got Rush Street Interactive secures online casino and sports betting market access opportunities in Ohio, Maryland, and Missouri. So that's RSI. Then it goes on to say Rush Street Interactive enters into a strategic partnership with Penn National Gaming. So that's RSI and PENN, right? And then after that, we get Penn National Gaming enters 20-year partnership with Capital Region Gaming. So I'm looking at Penn heavy today. I'm also looking because I'm looking for a bounce back from Boeing, because the engine, of course, that blew up over the weekend, honestly has nothing to do with Boeing. And so it's going to get bad news because another Boeing plane, had a bad catalyst. But fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with the company. It's just another bad PR. And so I'm looking to take another couple of shares out there. In addition, I'm looking at Enovix. So Enovix set to go public through a SPAC in a deal valued at $1.1 billion. It's a battery maker. Enovix says it raised $405 million through a SPAC merger, but they're making 100% silicone lithium ion batteries for radios and smartwatches. So I'm going to be on the lookout for Enovix.
Yeah, interesting. I was kind of looking at, I mean, I had two stocks that I was just looking at in terms of what was going to happen with their earnings, which would be MoneyGram, which beat their earnings per share but missed out on revenue, and then Dish, which I haven't found their earnings just yet. I don't know if they reported it at this point. But it's just interesting, and I'm kind of watching how the overall sector is looking. So Dish like falls under XLC, which is like communications and networks and stuff like that. They've been expanding into like cell phones, so also 5G plays. But overall, this company in the last year down 18%, and in the last like quarter, I believe down 7%. And it's so crazy because we're old enough at this point to see companies that have carried us. Through my childhood, I feel like everybody had Dish at one point. And growing up broke, I've definitely used MoneyGram. And just to see how these charts are sort of stagnating while we have other names in both sectors that are taking over in terms of money transfer, right? I can't believe we haven't heard the MoneyGram crypto announcement yet. Or with Dish, I can't believe we haven't heard more about their satellite features or how they're expanding into, whatever rural areas. I really haven't heard much on either of those business models. But just with earnings in general, I just like to follow certain companies, and it gives me a better idea of where we're at in terms of industry, sector, and sector growth. Yeah, so those were kind of at least two of the earnings that I was looking at. And then also, just in general, I'm really waiting. So it says that like the first thing on Bloomberg is talking about Biden's stimulus package and having a 3-week Congress dash. And it's crazy. I feel like I'm so sick of this storyline in Congress of them going to the I mean, they're worse than me in high school with my homework. It's just like, could you guys finish something ahead of time? Please, dear God. So every time it just seems like they want this story of, we're trying to get it in. We have exactly 3 weeks to do it before jobless benefits expire. And yet and still, I believe March 14th was the day. So so far, we don't have any news on whether or not this is actually going to happen, and I know that the markets are going to stagnate on that. On the other side, and we're going to do a much deeper dive. We don't have time to talk about it right now, but Lucid Motors. I mean, God, every day I see a new article. I thought at this point it seems if they do not, if CCIV does not merge with Lucid Motors, at this point that's the bigger risk. Everybody assumes that it's going to happen. There have been, I mean, it's not really a secret, so they basically have to announce it. And the question is, after they announce it, are we going to see? It's buy the hype, sell the news, right? So as they move closer and closer to actually announcing it, I heard that it might be on Tuesday. I actually don't see this as a buying opportunity. I'm definitely going to sit back and watch to see what happens. I have a much deeper dive on Lucid Motors as a company, but for now, once again, it's just the news. So yeah, the hype on Lucid Motors continues to go through the roof. The luxury Tesla, the Neo of America, whatever you want to call it. And I am looking at the price and excited to see that the news wants to keep pumping this for sure. If you're holding, I mean, hey, we hold until that announcement comes, and then take your profits and run. That's really it for me. Anybody else?
That was pretty good. I also looked into CCIV. Like you said, I'm really anxious because that gap down that it did a little bit last week from 64 back down to 52, it had me a little bit concerned. So I wasn't sure if it was just being a correction, but when I look at the 1 hour, it looked like it was consolidating, and then it looked like it just sold off because people were scared to hold it to the weekend. So today today and tomorrow, I'll be observing it. If it can keep at least a level of 58 throughout the next 2 days, I think I'll buy into it. And obviously, sell the news is also something to keep in mind here. Thank you, Elaine.
I'm looking at fuel cell. I like it a lot. It's on sale. Entry would be 1990. Price target 2930. Stop 1850. Fuel cell. My name's Twan. Fly by any means.
Hey, and you kind of just led us right into our next section, so let's get into it. I think we're just going to combine it. We'll talk about our stocks. We'll talk about what's pumping. We'll do it all together. Let me play some damn intro music. Anyways, yeah, I like FCell. Oh, this is Elaine, aka Stock Mom. Yeah, I like FCell. I think number one on my list right now is going to be an oldie but a goodie. I'm looking at PLTR. I'm really excited to see what it does. I'm still really happy with it at this price point. And I'd love to see it hold. I mean, we're continuing the uptrend into today. If you look at it on a 4-hour chart, we have a beautiful 3-bar play with a just ginormous engulfing candle, an engulfing bullish candle. And right now we're starting at the top of that candle and looking to continue to uptrend. So if we can hold over 30, I'll be excited and be looking to 32. I mean, we have a huge gap that we needed to fill anyways on the way down, and I'm looking for up. So yeah, holding over 30, I could look towards 32. Underneath 30, I'm not necessarily going to continue to purchase, but we've seen 25 be a strong support. 25.53 specifically, and I even then, if we drop back down there, I would absolutely buy at that level as well. Fundamentally, really bullish behind this company and looking for great things in terms of their connections in the future. And I can't wait to get to my second one, which is also another SaaS company. This is Elaine. Christopher, you got one for us?
Can we come back to me?
Wow, that man's just finishing his list right now.
I'm
I got
literally
more.
I'm
I
like
didn't
literally
go too
writing
early.
down the list of everybody's. I'm kind of compiling it for the watch list today. Palantir? Did you say that one?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even have to guess with me. We're talking about Palantir.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I'm in the Palantir 30 strike for 319. I'm super excited about it. Like we just broke 30 this morning. I'd really like to get to that 32 mark before I cash out. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. The market is really too bad for me to be playing right now. I already kind of chased the deal, so I'm a little upset at that, and I'm hanging back.
Hey, Olivier, what are you looking at for the day?
Oh yeah, like I said, CANF, CANF, and then honestly, I'm looking also at RETO. I don't know if they're gonna go, but it seems that they're back. I saw them this morning around 5 something a.m. and it's been slowly moving. I try to avoid trading stocks that don't have news or have like a lot of volume if they do. But RETO, it's already been up 57%. And CANF, I'm just scratching my head wondering why a cancer and printing play has not shot up with a 15 mil float. And then, of course, I'm picking up some EFSO. Thank you, Fly by any means. I appreciate that. Definitely going in my basket. And I'm looking once again to quadruple down on SNDL. And eventually, one day, when marijuana gets ratified in what state, I'm sure it's going to pop right back up. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. At least for me, I mean, I can go again. I have a decent watch list for this week. Also, I really want to see what's going to happen with Plug. Now, Plug is at a great place in the chart. We broke down from a kind of consolidation that happened in February. But in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5, whatever, in the past 2 days, we've actually seen we found a bottom around 44. We moved up almost a whole 20% move, and it's looking to continue to be bearish as we pop over the 200 simple moving average. We have earnings coming up this week. I expect them to beat earnings. I think that they had great guidance from our last one. And there's plenty of upside on this play as long as we, the EV hype continues. I just expect, I want to see the run. I believe their earnings are on Thursday. And so I would love to just catch a run up into the earnings if there's going to be one. I'm definitely looking at it. So underneath 53.37 would be my, it's got a fairly short stop, but above us here, I'm looking to see 60, right? Sorry, and right now we're at 55. So $2 down, another $5 up, 2-to-1 risk reward. Not my favorite, but at the same time, it's definitely prime, and there's a decent catalyst, and it's in a sector that is looking positive right now. So I'd really like to see what happens with Plug. Oh, hey, good morning, David. Welcome to the stage, man. You have any
Hey,
stocks
what's
that you're
going
looking
on?
at for the day?
Actually, I really don't have any plays. I spent all weekend in the lab, so I didn't do any research. But I had a question about that CANF. I know you had mentioned. I was just doing a little research because I was curious on that, and I think there might be some confusion. It sounds like they're not partnering up with Nano Dimensions. I just want to confirm if you know any of this, Olivia. But it seems like their drug is called namodenoson. So it's kind of, I'm wondering if, because I'm trying to find some information on the 3D side of that stuff. And I'm just wondering if people have been misconfusing the drug name
Oh
with
my
the
gosh, I
company.
am so sorry. Wow. I read that so quick and didn't even. Wow. I really apologize. Let me put that in the Discord.
No, it still
I.
looks like a good stock,
Oh
honestly.
wow!
But I just read it
Oh
and I was like,
wow!
I had to read it a few times, and then I was like, oh shit, okay.
Oh man, that's a funny one. Thanks for coming up and helping us with
Yeah,
that,
thank
man.
you for double checking. Now I seem like an
No
idiot.
problem.
But
You're fine. We all make mistakes, man. And I think that's important here. And we should encourage people to, just check us. If we say something that's wrong, please, 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 please. It helps all of us do better. So thank you, David. I can continue. Caesar. So Caesar, last week, we called it out, and look at what happened on Friday. If we look at what's going on right now, we're once again approaching all-time highs at 83, and I'm excited. There's a reason behind this. We're seeing more and more opening up on gambling in general, in different states and internationally. And I think that this is one of those plays that is primed to run. It's not completely overvalued, and so right now, I just want to see if we're going to break that all-time high. Doing my extensions, Fibonacci extensions. I mean, after this, we're at 83.99. I'm definitely looking for 85 and then 87 on the next leg up. But the real thing is, I'm playing it off of momentum. So if we're going to continue this momentum, I'd be happy to take a position inside of this. We're well above our 200 simple moving average. And like I said, I think the sector is continuing to grow. So this would be more of a sympathy play to the general situation. Speaking right along that sort of ideology, Fubo. Fubo has actually been downtrending, so it's at a much better place in the chart in terms of, upside versus downside and value. Right now, we've been downtrending for, God, the past 10 days, coming right down to that 200 SMA. And so that'll kind of be part of my activation level. Right now, we're sitting at 41.93. I'm looking to see a bounce off of 40, which was also our most recent resistance that has turned into a support. I'd love to see that. We're at a good place. Once again, this is involved in gambling, sports betting, and streaming on top of that. So there's plenty of upside. Our last all-time high was somewhere near 55, and I could easily see us continue to uptrend once we decide to. Stocks don't just go straight down, and they don't just go straight up. So I like to see this nice little downtrending consolidation. I'd call this a wedge. We're getting lower highs and lower lows, but the range in which they're trading is much smaller. So I mean, I could go right down the list and talk about Penn, but we'll leave it alone for now. Definitely, the sports gambling world is looking nice, and giving us some good value.
Facts. And I also, I know we have a little bit of extra time, and Jeff, I saw you hop up on stage. We will talk about whatever you wanted to jump in on. But we do have like a pretty robust and heavy hitter earnings coming up this week. I just wanted to go over a couple of things that I'm looking at. I don't necessarily have price targets just because these are coming the first time that I'm going to be actually looking at these earnings reports. RKT, I'm really concerned about that one just because of how bad UMWC got done, right? They were up 822% and they're down. They just continue to get beat up. I'm also looking in the Veil. Just because I've heard that ticker so many times, I really haven't had time to do my due diligence on that one. Fisker's also coming up. Nvidia, DDD, APA is one of my favorite oil plays. Jumia's coming up as well this week. Plug.
But Chris, hold on, stop, dude. We don't want to just tell people 30 tickers at once that are coming up for earnings and tell them I don't know anything about them, but like I hope you guys know that the earnings are coming up, like the calendars are available. I think we should not do that. Yeah, well, I think that we should just wait and kind of talk about them on the days that it's actually relevant and not just hype people. You guys, we have earnings calendars, right? So I don't know. I just don't want to be the place for that personally. Sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to cut you off like that, but let's stick to price targets and stocks that we really do have something to say and something to know about. Damn, man, I didn't mean to kill your whole vibe.
No, you didn't kill me. I can go into anything except for Veil. Like I'm watching Fisker. Like I want to see that break over 25. I'm looking at BBY. Never mind. Let's not jump in. I'll jump into it later. We've got 10 minutes left.
Facts. Welcome to the stage, Jeffrey. Did you have a stock that you were looking at or a question you wanted to ask us about the stocks we've talked about so far?
Yeah, good morning, guys. So I wanted to share a stock that I was looking at. It's in the ammunition industry. The ticker is POWW. It's Ammo Inc. And I noticed that we have like a shortage of ammunition. So I wanted to look at some like ammunition manufacturers. And they had a recent IPO. They had an earnings release last week. And they actually had revenue of 16 million, and they beat revenue expectations by almost $5 million. And also Biden just recently called for tougher gun laws, and I think that can also contribute to a rise in ammunition purchases. And then some other things that are already incorporated in their price is so they have a transaction for 7.62 ammunition, which is extremely popular, and they have a backlog of purchases, and they also repurchase their shares, which also is like a sign of growth, strong growth for a company.
Wow, definitely is. And I mean, looking at the chart, I don't know that we're in a bad place. I'd love to see it establish that uptrend again. I mean, the thing for like low float stocks like this is if we look at the last time they had like a strong down movement and just continued, um, it's like hype and volume has a lot to do with it. Right. So if you kind of look back to the beginning of 2021, where they went from, $4 all the way up to 10, look at how the volume was. And I don't know anything about this company other than kind of what you've said, and that it's an ammunition play, and that they make money. So that's good to see. But if we look at how the volume has continued to diminish, like I'm wondering what happened with the interest that happened in the beginning, and why is it not here now? But other than that, at least on the chart, we're definitely bouncing off of a nice resistance. I mean, sorry, a nice support. I'm not against this as a play. Thank you, Jeffrey. Good eyes. Good morning, AR.
Uh,
Welcome to the stage, man. Do you have a stock that you're looking at?
no, actually, I was just giving a high level analysis of things, but I don't know if you guys already covered that. I was looking at the VXX, and I know we only had a few minutes left, so I don't know if it's a value add or not. But yeah, just let me know if you want me to rap about that.
No, you're okay. We can talk about VIX for a couple minutes.
Cool. Yeah, so presently right now, the VXX is up 3.77%, which is, I won't say significant. What I'll basically say is for a Monday, it basically is kind of began to create a range of sorts. If you look over the past few weeks, our bottom basically was at 1492. Okay, and right now we're at that 1567 mark. The overhead resistance levels that I'm looking at this week are at 1605, a significant one at 1643, and if that level cracks 1715, and so a significant move there would end up meaning that the VXX could have moved, let's say, almost another like 7 to 10%. And that means that we'll be able to potentially see that reflected in the SPY toward the latter part of the week. So high level wise, the market right now has, it's not a correction or anything of that nature. To your point, it's a wedge, right? And, we could start or begin to see some volatility in certain stocks as it pertains to, some pullbacks. So, I would just align my strategies accordingly. Not ride anything, too long. That doesn't make sense, and maybe look for some scalping opportunities, as it pertains to overhead resistance. So that's all I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I just, since we have in 1 minute or less, explain what you think happens, or what you're concerned of when you see volatility, specifically VIX going up. What is that overall reflection in the market? Because I feel like a lot of people don't have a picture of that in their heads. What does it mean when volatility is up?
So when the VIX volatility is up, that means that you're going to see the SPY inversely moving down, right? And I go to the SPY as an indice because it reflects that top what is it, the S&P 500. So that's the composite of stocks.
Top 500 companies in America.
Right, and you have your Amazons in there, your Apples. You have a lot of these heavy hitter, large, sustainable, well managed companies, right, that are in that composite. So for me, it's just kind of like if I had to try to get like a market breadth. I jump right to the VIX, and I'm sorry, I do work my way down. Maybe it's something that I can provide maybe some further education on, really try to contribute to, what you guys are doing here overall. But it's a great indicator. So lastly, what I'm seeing is I am seeing some potential for some pullback in SPY this week. And when you start off on a Monday, right, with that pullback, that's suggesting to me that maybe I look at some of my positions that I had been at long, and just move accordingly. So I
Yeah,
hope
I
that
fully agree.
I just want to say, you guys, I love this new format. It's organized. You have an agenda. I just really like it. And I think it's really funny. The music and stuff in the background, it really made me smile today. I needed that.
Thank you.
Yes, great feedback. Thank you.
So yeah, we're kind of ending on time, and I'd really like to end with enough time for everybody to make their way into the market. So I'll let all the mods on stage if they have one last thing that they want to get off, and then after that we'll kind of go into our affirmations and close out for the day. D'Antoine, aka Fly by Any Means, do you have any last words for us, man?
Yeah, I got one more for y'all. If Apple hold at this 127, I would enter at 127.50, price target 145. My stop will be 125. Have an amazing day, everybody.
Yo,
Shots.
that man talked about Apple. I mean, we're ready. I'm with you, Fly. I can't wait till Apple season is back on the map. I'm ready.
Me too.
Christopher, any last takes for the day, man?
No.
Did you just call my name? Sorry, I was making something. I don't got nothing else if you're asking for me.
Oh, you're all good, David. Thank you for coming on stage. Olivier, do you have any last things for the day for us?
No, that's it. I hope everyone has a successful trading day. Please be careful, as we know how the market is going right now. And hopefully everyone ends on green today. Thank you.
Absolutely. So with that said, I'll do some affirmations for today. And I don't have the music because I didn't prepare. I just, whatever, music tomorrow. Anyway, so here's my affirmation. I will trade with a plan. I am ready and willing to do what it takes to become the best trader I can be. I have no fear of missing out. I am patient. Cash is a position. I'm a profitable trader. All of my actions are those of a profitable trader. I accept success and am ready to do what it takes to achieve it. That's it. I hope everybody has a great trading day. Thank you so much for coming and listening to us every morning. Thank you, everybody who's on stage. And we'll talk to you after market.